Hi, I'm Haywood. I'm a fine artist based in London. I create pieces that seek to empower and uplift black women, and they're very heavily influenced by my own personal history and heritage, as my family came to Britain from the West Indies many years ago. This piece in front of you is titled The Blacker the Berries, and it was inspired by two separate pieces of writing. One piece by the singer Billie Holiday entitled Southern Trees, and another song by Kendrick Lamar called The Blacker the Berries. Each berry has its own individualized face on it, and when I first created this piece, I made about 130 of these tiny little blackberries, which are castings made in resin that I originally created in clay and cast each one by hand. So I think perhaps the most powerful verse of the two songs that the piece is influenced by would be from Billie Holiday's Strange Fruits, the verse which goes something along the lines of southern trees bear strange fruits, blood on the leaves and blood at the roots, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruits hanging from the poplar trees. So the piece essentially critiques the way that black women in the present, the way that we see the way that we see ourselves, the way that we see our skin tone, and it takes a look at the very long history of dark skin being perceived as this ugly, undesirable feature that has been historically used to oppress women and men of African descent. But in the same breath, it's a piece that's very empowering, presenting black bodies as something that's sweet, delicious, desirable. So it sort of walks this fine line between something that's very cannibalistic and uncomfortable, but also something that's very uplifting and empowering. Excavation is a piece that I created during lockdown, and it's sort of very heavily inspired by a lot of artifacts that I've seen in my studies, so artifacts from across West and North Africa. It was a really fun piece to make. It's created to look like it's made of chocolate, and there is real sugar worked into the piece, real brown sugar. And it was very interesting to me to kind of create a piece that looked edible, even though it really isn't. So the base of this is expanding foam and is covered in a coating of resin and brown sugar to create this really nice sort of honeycomb effect on top. And the actual faces of each mask are polymer clay, which has a really nice smooth finish that mimics the finish of chocolate when it's been tempered well. So the idea here was to draw links between accessories and fashion choices that many people of African descent here in London make today that are perhaps ridiculed or not seen as being professional in certain settings, but have these really interesting links back to history in various parts of Africa. So with this piece in particular, the Afro Cone that I've recreated here is based on a comb that was hand carved from ivory and worn in the hair of an individual who was buried in a burial pit in North Africa. And they would have been seen as symbols of status in North Africa. So the idea that ivory is this was this very expensive material at the time, and still is quite heavily sought after and gathered in quite illegal ways. But to this day, people do still walk around with Afro cones in their hair, and it might not be that same level of status that was established in North African tribes and by North African travellers, but it still has this very similar way of creating a sense of identity for us, or being a symbol of identity, a symbol of blackness, that many of us share and are able to share with one another, yeah.